Leagueheads, and welcome to The League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today we're talking about Targon, which has two titles. The Sprawling Western Mountains, which is fine, and The Stairway to the Gods, which is metal as hell.
Yeah, their tourism board really was like, okay, we got to revamp. We can't be this.
Nobody's visiting anymore.
Just like there's mountains everywhere, man. They don't care that they're just sprawling Western mountains.
Right. We need to get over
Stairway everywhere.
We need to sell this hard enough to make up for the fact that there are dead bodies everywhere.
I mean, that doesn't stop people from trying to climb Mount Everest. And they don't even get god powers at the top of it.
That we know of.
You know, more people should be trying to climb Mount Targon, right? Is it happening often?
Maybe they are.
That's true.
Yeah, maybe they are. I guess the thing also is like, I don't know. Do many people even know? I guess we'll get into this when we talk about what's actually happening. But do many people even kind of know of anyone who's ascended it? You know what I mean? Like,
that's true. Not a lot of people get to meet
for the vast bulk of the world.
The handful of ascended.
Right. And the people that do are probably like, these guys are a little weird.
Yeah. It's a dick.
Why did Tarek just walk into the middle of this battlefield and then pick a flower? What the fuck is going on with that guy?
This guy's like burning bread and shit.
Ever since you ascended, you changed, man.
Oh, not the Tarek I used to know. That's Garen, not Tarek.
All right.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So we have Targon's got kind of its own blurb about how it's big and remote and people climb it and all this shit.
Great.
I mean, I guess we should, if we're going to do the episode about it, maybe I'll read the thing, but then I'll just kind of give my own one-word explanation too.
Oh, another one-word one. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess technically 2 words, but so Mount Targon is the mightiest peak in Runeterra. A towering peak of sun-baked rock amid a range of summits unmatched in scale anywhere else in the world. Located far from civilization, Mount Targon is utterly remote and all but impossible to reach save by the most determined seeker. Many legends cling to Mount Targon, and like any place of myth, it is a beacon to dreamers, madmen, and questers of adventure. Some of these brave souls attempt to scale the impossible mountain, perhaps seeking wisdom or enlightenment, perhaps chasing glory or some soul-deep yearning to witness its summit. The ascent is all but impossible, and those hardly few who somehow survive to reach the top almost never speak of what they've seen. Some return with a haunted, empty look in their eyes, others changed beyond all recognition, imbued by an aspect of unearthly, inhuman power with a destiny few mortals can comprehend.
Yeah, include me in that that group of few mortals. Well, I guess no, the vast swath of mortals who cannot comprehend what the fuck it means to their destiny to be an aspect or whatever.
Right.
Let me rephrase.
or the 2 word.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Is it the Guts Mountain?
It is not.
Fuck.
Mount Folympus.
The aggro crag?
I didn't hear John's because Mark yelled over it.
No, I heard it.
I didn't hear it.
Sorry.
What did you say?
Mount Folympus.
That was good.
Folympus.
Yeah, when you say faux to mean something.
Oh, I was
fake.
thinking like fallopian tubes.
No,
okay.
not that.
I was gonna say that makes no sense.
Let's eat some faux beef. This is not Mount Olympus. It's Mount Folympus.
I kind of like the Guts Mountain.
Yeah, that's because I had to explain it. Jokes famously good after being explained.
I mean, if
and
the
also
joke is
repeated
good.
because no one heard it. I was gonna make a joke about pho. I was gonna say there's the one next to it where they just serve really good soup.
Oh my god,
that's
I
where
love
Oren
that
got his
idea.
fucking soup pot from.
That's genius, though.
Yeah. That's pretty apt, I suppose. It is kind of telling how really the biggest defining feature of Targon is just the mountain and the ascent. There's also the Lunari and Solari, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But that's really the main thing they got going.
Whenever I think of Targon, I just think of the mountain. I forget that people live there, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're kind of on the mountain. Just, on the baby part.
The baby part of the mountain.
Right. It's interesting that blurb, the way it describes the idea that it would be sort of a a beacon, like you said, to adventurers and people who mystics, anyone who was sort of like really seeking something in that way. Because it doesn't ever.
When you're playing an open world game and you see a big mountain, you're like, well, I gotta fucking get it.
Is there a fucking dragon there? Fuck yeah, I'm going.
Hell yeah.
It feels like there should be much more traffic there. It makes me, you know what I mean? It never feels that way. Whenever we spend time in Targon, it feels very, very, very sequestered and siloed.
Yeah, and I it doesn't get mentioned as much as I feel like it should. Like, if these mountains are so huge, you should be able to see them from other regions. And I don't know, they're just never like painted in the background.
You always see Mount Targon no matter where you're in the world.
I
cool.
love that. It's like North Star. You could always find out where you are by somewhere Mount Targon.
I'd be cool with it, even when it doesn't even necessarily make sense. Like, if you assume a globe-based Runeterra, right? Like, maybe in Ionia you couldn't theoretically see it, but it's like the raw magic of it in some way sort of warps it. So it's like
it's still there.
Like
I like that idea that it's always on the horizon, even if it can't be, just to lure people to it. Oh, what a good idea!
Neat.
It works in a thematic sense too, right? Because it's like you said, it's that drive, that pull of like, what if, the potential, what if, you know what I mean?
And we do get a few stories, to be fair, but like, yeah, it's not, you would expect it to be a bigger thing. I feel like what we know of Targon in terms of how other countries see it, or other like regions, I guess, it is the death penalty in Demacia, basically.
True.
And people close to the mountain, there is a whole pilgrimage thing where they do try to climb it in large groups, most, if not all of whom fail. And we also know that they worked with Shurima, we know that Shuriman's worked with them to create Ascension, essentially.
Yeah.
But outside of those kind of few regions, we really don't have a ton of lore, I guess, around it, which
does Noxus want to go there?
Yeah, like think about how many regions we know their depiction of kindred, right? Like we know kindred depictions from like at least 5 or 6 regions now. It's surprising that we don't have more of that in relation to Targon from other regions.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it. My feeling is some of it is that because in reaching so big and grandiose, like it actually ends up kind of falling a little short because like you're so it's so removed from all the little sprinklings of like actual moment to moment culture and things like that really make a place feel lived in and built out. It's caught up in a lot bigger ideas. Should we talk about more the actual ascent of Mount Targon and kind of what that means? Like, and sort of in doing so, talk about aspects and I guess celestials.
Yeah,
want to open up that old fucking can of worms?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about the. Actually, I want to. This is a tough.
Or if you had another point you want to kind of dive into first.
Actually, let me start with, because we're going to talk about the history of it, basically. A lot of this will tie into the history, especially when we get to the aspects. So let me start with the very first part of history here, which would be Aurelian Sol, our original first
literally
breath
the
of
first
creation.
part of history.
The first breath of creation.
So he created tons of stars. And at some point, he discovered a world near one of his first stars that he did not create. And the aspects who at that point existed beckoned him to see, and the Targonians who lived there were like, holy shit, cool, it's a dragon. And they named him Aurelian Sol for the son he had gifted them. And they offered him a gift of a crown, but it was a trap. And it started draining his knowledge of the sun he had created, hurled him back into space, preventing him from getting closer to the world, and the aspects of Targon constructed a great sun disk, using this knowledge to raise up immortal god warriors. So it all started with Aurelian Sol creating the sun that kind of gave birth. I don't know if we know officially who gave birth to the world, but he created the sun that was responsible for life on Earth, even if he didn't create the life itself.
Reminding me of that Futurama episode with Bender in space and like. Anyway, yeah, but it does seem like that where he was like doing other stuff for a while. He turned around and he's like, "Who the fuck are you guys?"
Ooh, there's some shit on this planet.
There's ants.
There's ants, right? Maybe that Targon is one big ant trap.
That's pretty fucked up what they did to him. Really didn't think about it that much. Because Acehol's such a dick, you know? Acehole the asshole.
Ayo.
Yeah.
But,
Now, is this all in service to the aspects working against the void? Is that why they're trying to ascend up warriors in the first place? And we see them in other stories leverage Acehole as sort of a... Like, they can also force him to do things, such as, you know, cauterize a void rift, for example, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like that's kind of everything. And he could probably give a fuck, right? Because he can just make stars as quickly as the void can unmake them, assumedly, right? Even then, he's a little shook by some of the deeper intelligences going on there, right?
I am curious because I know when all the Acathia shit went down, it's kind of, I think, when a big that's when I feel like Targon first stepped in a big way to help, I guess, against the void. I don't know if we know how much knowledge they had of the void previous to that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say, I guess, is what's going to be the thing we'll say a lot.
Not Riot.
Not I. Yeah, I know.
They'd be like, wait, Celestials? What were they again?
What is Targon Prime? Shit. Did I get 2-day delivery on that?
Got him.
I feel like we've made that joke before.
That's impossible.
Just dipping back into the well, right? Yeah. Real quick, what's an aspect? Right? We mentioned them a couple times. What are they? What are those things?
Who's to say? Not Riot.
Not.
It is someone who has been fused, perhaps, with a god. Who is an aspect of that, whatever particular idea, justice, war, etc.
See, I would say that person who has been fused is the host to an aspect.
Yes.
I think the aspect is whatever I don't know if we're calling them all Celestials or just some Celestials. And
Christ, let's not split the hairs. We'll be here all day sorting them. Yeah, my best guess, I think we've taken many stabs at trying to explain these things. My best description is always just some sort of outer intelligence that exists within some sort of celestial realm that is like, I read as sort of a separate almost plane of existence, kind of akin to the spirit realm, but just the celestial realm instead, that has some sort of interest or vested interest in like affecting action in Runeterra. And to do so, they need to, like you kind of said, host themselves into people and potentially raise up other sort of semi-god warrior types.
That's exactly what I said.
And I think
pretty much, right?
And there are two kind of conflicting, I think, I guess, ideas of them too, because I think it has been stated in some place that the aspects themselves are responsible for the things that they are aspect of. Because I know it was kind of initially said that like when one aspect was disappeared, the idea of that thing disappeared. But then we also see the aspect of war get killed and war decidedly not disappear.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like, and that's something you'll see a lot when people talk about aspects, is the idea that they sort of embody an ideal, like you said, right? And I think that was something that Riot initially had written because it feels nice. But like you said, there are things that don't quite make sense in that way. There's I don't remember who it was. Was it Aatrox, who was originally sort of the aspect of hope, potentially?
Right.
Like hope was excised from the world. But then the other thing also is that you've also got aspects of like celestial bodies, like the moon and the sun. And to me, those don't read at all as having any sort of connection to an ideal or anything like that, right?
Yeah, true.
So yeah, it's just sort of
and presumably like if Aatrox were to come in here with his aspect killing sword and like murder Leona, for instance, I don't think there is any chance that Aurelian Soul's sun is just gonna go out.
Wow,
but what if it did?
Aurelian Soul's sun. He stamped it.
I mean,
Some
if you
other
believe what
pissant
the
sunmaker,
Targonians
maybe.
believe, which is that it has, I guess there have been several of these events, and the next time the sun goes out is going to be the last of them, then who knows? Maybe it's... Who knows? The thing
It
is
very well
that
could,
Targon
right?
is so steeped in legend and folklore that we get...
Ancient legend.
Ancient folklore, that you can never quite be sure what in a story is canon versus what is stories passed down.
Which, if that was intentional, I think that could be kind of fun. Because I like the idea that even these Targonians have no fucking idea, like, what legends are true, right? Like, they're thinking the sun's going to go out forever, but what if they just fucking made that up? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it does seem more like Targon just doesn't get looked at very much, and so the lore doesn't tend to get out.
The most it's
Yeah.
been looked at, I think, is Legends of Runeterra, right?
Yes, it seems like it.
Yeah.
They really
that
seem to
exists
have
in a
some
really weird
cool
space.
ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, is cool ideas, and that's the thing about it too. Targon Prime, if we do talk about it, which I guess maybe we probably will here, is a great example of that, where it only exists in that context as far as I'm aware. And it's like the idea that it is sort of like we assume it's not canon, it's never been canonized, and if it's a really big idea, for example, that if it became canon, like it would really shift a lot of our understanding of things.
So what is
but because
Targon
it's in the
Prime
sort of
then?
Yeah, we might as well, like, what is
Because I don't know what
is
it is.
right? Like, it's kind of like what I described. My explanation of it would be that it's sort of, like I said, it's like a separate sort of realm, almost like an actual visitable place within the celestial realm that is like home to the aspects, and it's described, I think,
Right.
like given the epithet of like the silver and gold city. I guess it's something I read is almost akin to like a heaven, in a way of it being like there's something tangible about it. You know what I would, as a good comparison, I would say is it's like the inverse of Rachnoon or whatever it is, the Mordekaiser's little death pocket realm dimension thing.
Oh, okay.
Where there's actual like furniture and shit.
Yeah.
Like this.
He made couches,
That's my
too.
best kind of description of it. There's an actual card for it, but it does really seem to, in my mind, to be like there's an actual place that you theoretically could go, and like I think Mahira
It's supposed to be there right now. And
is supposed to be
technically,
there, and
Kale went in there
theoretically has
after
gone.
her.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's still very vague. It's not,
Yeah, I think all of those stories, the Kale going in there, Mahira going in there, all of those were kind of flavor text on the
Legends of
Legends of
Runeterra
Tarot cards,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah.
stories.
It
I'm
makes you
trying to see if
feel
there's
like it's
any
an idea
reference
that
to
they-
it in universe at all. I'm not positive.
think
I'm
I've
certain
seen
it's
it.
not. Yeah. But that's the thing, right? Is it's like these things that deepen our understanding of it are also sort of in this really awkward space. And I remember this. We had this feeling way back when we were talking about a lot of this, that like the idea of this sort of separate Christ Almighty, there's so much to talk about. I just like I'm getting so rabbit hole. Because something about aspects, if we were going to pull it back to aspects, I was going to say also is that like the aspects that we see as they are in League are champions like, Pantheon, Leona, Diana, right? And something that's kind of established also is that there's like, that's just an iteration of that aspect, and there are multiple like other aspect hosts across the universe, it would seem, right? Am I right? Am I not wrong? Am I wrong?
I hate that part of it. I don't like that.
Yeah, so we're dealing with like some sort of almost theoretical galactic like empire, ghost empire. I don't know. That sort of
Galactic Ghost Empire gods. I like that.
right. It's just like, okay, that's a really big idea that just is kind of floating around out there when it comes to aspects, right?
It sounds like an AU,
makes it inscrutable.
but it's like,
it
but it's
does.
canon.
It'd be a great AU. Keep it there.
Yeah. And the other thing we'll talk about with aspects, and I guess in relation to aspect hosts also, is that like we have a really fuzzy understanding of what it even means to be a host and what the interaction is like. And I think it's muddled even worse by the fact that aspects seem to have different personalities and like modus operandi when it comes to taking on a host, and that some will kind of like Diana mostly runs the ship, but every now and then the aspect kind of influences her, as compared to like a Pantheon where the host Atreus was completely like subsumed, right? And the aspect of war just ran the show. So it's just like, what is does Pantheon get chewed out for that? Does Leona's host get chewed out, or Leona get chewed out? The aspect of the moon, I'm sorry, whatever the fuck she is.
And who's the person that chews them out? Who's the aspect that?
Oh, the top aspect.
Yeah, who's the top aspect?
He's the aspect
The
of
aspect
aspects.
of bureaucracy, right? The aspect of the chief is on my ass. And is
Told me to give him my sword and shield and get out.
And you're like, okay, so is that aspects in a nice compact nutshell? Is there anything more major we should touch on with those currently?
I think that's the big stuff.
Do you think that's enough
now.
to understand kind of when someone mentions an aspect, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Aurelian Soul's created the world. He's come back and he's been crowned by Targon.
Yes, right? And they siphoned his knowledge of the star and used that to create the sun disk, which then uses the power of the sun and aspect magic to create Ascended.
We don't have to talk about
Shurima.
Ascended right now, but they're similar.
We do a little bit because the aspects fuck with them.
Oh, you're right.
That's right. Yeah. They're super
also,
powerful god warriors.
Worth mentioning, Targon, because it was at this kind of point, the ancient Shuriman Empire, this was when I think they were in a great deal of expansion. Technically, Targon became a nation state of the Shuriman Empire at one point, but then once the empire collapsed, they done fucked off.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was shocked to read that, because it makes sense when we talk about it. It almost feels like it would be something that I guess Targon engaged in sort of willingly, like they were happy to do so they could kind of start building out this army of warriors. But it never ever occurred to me the idea that Targon was ever a part of the Shuriman Empire. It feels very strange.
It does,
right?
It feels like Targon has I was gonna say no centralized government. It feels like it's just a collection of people living on a mountain,
right?
Randomly.
That's a big thing. Another thing too is that I feel like the one thing we see in most of the aspects that we've seen, who I imagine would play a big part in this, given that they played a big part in creating the warriors with this partnership with Shurima, is that they are nothing if not ego driven, right? It seems very weird that they'd be like, yeah, sure, we'll be subservient to serve our own ends. Although we do see that in the not the Zoe story, but the aspect of Twilight story. So maybe, but it's a very different. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the aspects we see are very ego driven, and it's surprising that they would kind of bend the knee even if it served their own purposes, as opposed to just being like, well, we could serve our own purposes if we took over Shurima too, because they don't have the power to create warriors yet. We could probably take them over and create them ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if this had more effects out in any other place, I might have more feelings about it, but I feel like this doesn't ever come up even in a story. This is probably some piece of trivia that got filtered through somehow. So I'll let it sit, I suppose.
I guess another kind of connection to the Ascended that we should talk about is the Great Darken War. So one of the things that happened in relation to the aspects and the Ascended is after the Ascended already happened, Acathia happened, the Void popped out, and now we've got a bunch of Darken essentially causing ruckus across the world. Maisha, who at that point was the aspect of Twilight before Zoe, leads the Panther Ascended Tanari to Nasus, who reveals the location of the Chalakar of Sataka. I'm going to say a lot of things in the next 20 seconds that are not going to make a ton of sense but just stay with me here. reveals the location of the Chalakar of Sataka, which Tanara hopes to use to stop the civil war between the Ascended. So Tanara calls for a gathering of all the Ascended and proposes that the next wielder of the Chalakar be recognized as Savunus Alahair, who is one of Azir's remaining Ascendants and has a name strikingly similar to Sivir's, who we know ends up with the Chalakar. Another Ascended there, Zuyan, disagrees and tries to take the Chalakar by force, but Tanari slays him with the aid of Maisha, using the Chalakar to heal himself and release an empowered form of moon falling, which takes away all the Ascended forms and powers, which is something that they can do, apparently, including Tanari, who Maisha kills by removing his heart, then gives mortals the knowledge to trap the remaining Darkin in weapons, which is how we get the Darkin we know today. And then, while the newly reborn aspect of war unites many in fighting back against the Darkin, and then others like Kale and Mahira fight directly against Darkin like Zolani, which again is another kind of Legends of Runeterra specific interaction that they have with the Darkin. But yeah, so the aspects worked with the Ascended to destroy the Ascended, and then also worked with the humans to teach them how to trap Darkin into weapons, which are now being gathered by LeBlanc, it looks like.
Yeah.
Dominoes, huh? All roads lead back to LeBlanc, of course.
Yeah. So they meddle. They fuck around a lot, right? Is like something to kind of take note of, is that they meddle a lot. In a way that's like almost weirdly, like it's weird that they wouldn't kind of directly intervene. Not weird, but like they don't directly intervene so much as they sort of just like, they like poke at shit with a stick, right? You know what I mean? They're like, we'll figure out this way to trap the Darkin, and then kind of proliferate that knowledge throughout, and kind of let the humans do it, even if there's like maybe direct action from, like, you know, in some cases, right?
You know what? I'm gonna say I don't think they find out enough for the amount that they fuck around.
Yeah,
because it seems like
everyone else finds out. Gods, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck around with the humans, and humans find out. And then you just are still a god, hanging out in your weird limbo.
So I don't know what the complaint is. Everything's rolling smooth for me.
Refill my wine.
The aspect of chilling is...
I don't feel like there's an aspect of chill anywhere in Runeterra.
They're gone forever.
That's the very first one that was immediately struck from the skies. Oh man, it's fun.
Next in the timeline here, I've got the Solari Crusade. So we haven't talked a lot about the residents of Mount Targon. There are Targon.
Targon jargon.
So actually, I have. Let me scroll down a bit here. So the people of Targon, I think, largely are known as the Rakor. I think there are some that are non-Rakor, but I think most of the ones that we know about are Rakor, who are the tribe of the last sun. So they live kind of lower on Targon. They believe that many worlds have existed before this one, all of which were destroyed by a great catastrophe, and they believe that if this current sun is destroyed, there will be no more. So they're constantly training to protect it from anyone who would extinguish its light. And the Rakor make up all of the Solari and the Lunari. So the Solari, if you couldn't gather by their names, are the ones who are devoted to worshipping the sun and believe that all other light sources are false and a threat to their people. So the Ra-Harak are the elite warriors of the Solari, and it's believed that the founder of the Solari could call the power of the sun down on his enemies. But Leona is the first other warrior, other than the founder, who possesses that gift.
So do they hate, like, lanterns and shit?
Fucking kill them.
Are they not allowed to have torches? Fireplaces? They freezing?
Maybe. Very cold. I don't know. They
kill all the lightning bugs?
Right?
Do you think that's what they go out there and they do, is they're just smashing lightning bugs?
Heathen! I never called them lightning bugs.
They're like, they're
Fireflies, sorry.
They're level 1 grinding the Firefly spawn zone.
Sorry, we call them lightning bugs in Jersey.
Oh, well, I see. I don't know. I assume it just means celestial bodies. But then what about all the stars?
Right, there's a lot of stars, including the sun. All the stars are suns.
Yeah.
Don't say that around a Solari, though. They get real mad.
They're ignorant mountain folk. They
didn't even read that book about the Solari.
And then you've got the Lunari. You're not going to believe this, folks. They worship the moon. Now, they have to practice their beliefs in secret for obvious reasons. They chart celestial movements to divine the future, and some bind their eyes during the day, training their eyes to see only in darkness.
They can't really hide that. Walking around the market with a blindfold on.
You can just pretend just say like, oh,
Lunari,
I'm blind. I'm staring at the sun too much. I love that sun so much.
The Solari beat up too many blind people. They're not allowed to do it anymore.
Now, the impression I get is that at some point, and in fact, I think it is specifically said, at some point, these two coexisted peacefully. But recently, the Solari have been on a crusade to defeat the Lunari and condemn those who oppose them as heretics, hunting them down and destroying evidence of their existence. And I think we actually see this a little bit in the Diana Leona story.
Diana. Their couple name.
Right? Leone and Diana. Where Diana's like, hey, there's other text we should be reading. And they're like, why don't you fuck right off then? So like, I think the other text is like very explicitly stating like, yeah, we work together. We're cool with this. It's two sides of the same coin. And the Solari are just like, F all that. We're going to kill the Lunari. So that's what they're up to nowadays. They're also trying to destroy any evidence of their existence. But right now we're kind of in the return of the Lunari. So the celestial cycles are turning in the Lunari's favor currently. So the Solari are kind of doubling their efforts to wipe them out. And I think the big story points kind of related to this are that a Lune, who is Aphelios' sister, manages to make it into the Maris Omegnum, which is an ancient temple that only emerges from the spirit realm once in centuries. So she makes it inside, she pushes it and herself into the spirit realm, and she channels all of her magic into her brother Aphelios, who, this was kind of a sacred ceremony that was going down, and the Solari were like, nice, they're all gathered, we're going to kill them all. And so she channeled her magic into Aphelios, and just Aphelios fucked them right up. But now the Solari know that exists, and they're not happy about it. So, but the Lunari are now fighting back a little bit. We have some people kicking around and
looking for Diana
cool
still,
stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Also, another thing that is happening currently is that Aurelian's soul has now realized that the magic that bound him is weakening. And he has an eternal fury cache to check with all of the residents here.
Check to cache, as it were.
That's the one. Check to cash.
Whatever.
No, I just like taking cash and turning it into a check and then paying for groceries.
It's so much more orderly.
And you wait until you're there to fill it out.
Hold on, I've got coupons.
I worked at a grocery store too long. I can't.
Now, we talked about that MMO idea. What if, for the Aurelian Soul event, you've had Mount Targon on your horizon for 4 years, we'll say, in the MMO, and then one day, it is smote from the horizon. The peak is shattered because Aurelian Soul is back in the mix, baby.
He smacks it down. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It's just like cut in half, basically.
Yeah, you can see this claw.
Really cool. Like a little claw print where it's like gone.
Something like that.
You get one of those like
It's very
shattered
clearly
reality things
chunked.
where like the rock, like the broken bits of the mountain are still floating in the sky and shit.
Ooh, I love that.
It floats off into space. Because it's so high up it escapes gravity. Yeah, some shit like that. That'd be pretty cool. Because they've been teasing him escaping since was ever like first introduced. God damn, I don't remember when he got released. But like that's like one of the big looming world-ending threats for Runeterra. Maybe the biggest. That or the Void, potentially.
I know, it's so hard to determine.
Who can pick?
He might be the biggest physically.
I'm Team Aurelian Soul.
True.
Team Void.
I like it. Yeah, I think that captures a lot of what's going on in the region. I mean, something that I could be wrong. I'm trying to think of other like really major like plot lines that are kind of happening with it. Like you said, there's the Lunari on the re-up with Diana kind of being. I mean, it's who the fuck knows what's going on with her because she kind of showed up in Sentinels of Light for a second.
Doesn't count. She's still missing.
She's sort of like the prodigal daughter kind of situation with the Lunari. Like her coming back theoretically would be kind of like an inciting incident for a much more widespread upheaval.
Yeah. She seems to... There's a lot of void concern in the Targon, which we touched on a little bit. We didn't necessarily cover it a lot, but like Targon is fully aware of the void. The aspects are using Aurelian's soul to seal void rifts that they find throughout the world. Diana herself is also sealing, like fighting the void and sealing void rifts when she can, as she does whatever the fuck she's doing right now. So like they, as a whole, I don't know if Targon as a whole, but the aspects as a whole at least are acutely aware of the threat that the void poses. And Aurelian's soul might be the most aware, maybe, because I know I think in the story where he was sealing one of the rifts, he kind of got a glimpse at a surprising intelligence beyond the void that it is unlikely that anyone in Runeterra is aware of, because I don't think anyone has kind of glimpsed through necessarily the veil like he has. But while they're all aware of the threat of, the void's going to invade, I think he seems uniquely aware that there is some sort of intelligent design behind these attacks.
Him and Kaisa and Lysandra should all link up. Right? They're like the three people, I think, broadly, who have that knowledge, and they're all from very different places, and they're all very different. So something about the three of those. Imagine a conversation between these three.
Oh my god!
Priceless shit, right? Like
I'm just imagining Kaisa feeling like, you know that one meeting you're in where you know that you're like the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah.
Guy's just like, hold on, I got some info for you. And they're just like, yeah, we fucking know, Kaisa. God, all right, I'm gonna blow up a planet. What can you do? I got lasers. Pew pew.
Hey, she's morphed with a voidling or something,
No, it's like the fucking like marketing rep between like two senior developers who are vehemently arguing with each other about like code implementation or some shit. It's like, I don't know, but I can whip up a good PowerPoint for you if you need it. Right.
I like the idea that Kaisa feels like so alien around normal people, but if she were to be next to those two, she'd be like, oh, actually, I'm real fucking human still.
Wait a minute, I am hot.
Yeah, oh shit.
Now that I see Lysandra. Yeah, I mean, honestly, right? I don't know. The only thing I was going to mention is it's been mentioned. I feel like it's been mentioned a couple of times in pieces that I remember reading that there's a lot more aspects like being kind of brought into real space, right? And that's always kind of a signifier of like bad shit's on the horizon. Like there's way more aspects running around on Runeterra than there normally is or should be, right? So that's just a vague threat, but it's just something I guess to know about what's happening with those.
That's like Anivia coming back and all of that stuff.
Harbingers of something or other.
Yeah.
Now there are a few areas of Targon. So we talk about Mount Targon, but it can be broken into distinct regions as delineated by patterns in the rock and marked increase in hazardous weather conditions, difficulty of the climb, and increased death rate. So we have the Ring of the Mountain, which is the base, which experiences a variety of weather, which creates climates where the Rakor can hunt and forage for food. So this is kind of where they hang out. This is actually where greenery is lush throughout the otherworldly ridges of the mountain, and during spring and summer, flora and fauna thrive, making everyday life possible. And fresh water, plentiful here. Tons of shepherds herding flocks. And basically the Rakor worship down here a lot. The cool patterns in the rocks are basically proof to them that like, oh, this was forged by divine beings. So they kind of hang out in the Rakor caves, which are the main settlement. So we talked about what the Rakor are. Atreus and Leona kind of come from this tribe. This is also where the Temple of the Lunari is located, which is the place where the Lunari artifacts were kept safe from the Solari Inquisition, and where Diana faced the oppressing Solari elders. And then this is also where the Temple of the Solstice is, which is the entrance to the Solari Temple on the eastern slope of the mountain. It's kind of carved in such a way that it gets sun like all the time. And this is where Leona was kind of trained in the way of the Solari. Then we have the upper slopes, which is getting tough. This is where a lot of people die on their climb. This is where you see a lot of the frozen dead bodies that are just kind of permanently preserved here. Now this is home to the Astral Grove, which is south of the Holy Mount. It's where Soraka resides, which, as we know from that kind of one Soraka, yeah. It's got a little yurt with a few items and souvenirs from across Runeterra. And this is also kind of close to where the Otrani tribe is, which is the main settlement of the Otrani Vastaya, which I assume that Vastaya group is the one that is in that Stellacorn video, if I had to guess.
I think so, because
that's also where the Stellacorn graze. So, yeah. At the Star Spring in the Astral Grove. Now, there are also divine carvings at higher altitudes, a bunch of weird otherworldly shapes and creatures forming an alien landscape. Plants and animals are rare sights in this atmosphere, and the climate is cold, 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 cold. Speaking of which, their frozen lake is located here, which is a large frozen, a lake that was frozen millennia ago, which is slowly pulled up the mountain towards Targon Prime.
Huh.
Yeah.
They really want a new lake. They can't get it fast enough.
This is also where the Marissa Magnum is, which is that Lunari temple fortress that Elune is in right now. And then there are patterns of the dead. So travelers sometimes climb in groups to assist each other on the ascent, and when a climber is grievously wounded or exhausted beyond all movement and no hope of rescue is possible, they just kind of go down, and the bodies of the dead don't decay, since they're so high and so well preserved in the ice. They just kind of meld into the rock and slowly twist into the circular patterns and ridges of the mountains. Cool. And then finally, we've got the peak, that highest point. So if someone does make it up there, the heavens open in a dazzling display of cosmic aurora. Few ever bear the witness of the radiant sight far above the cloud line and beneath the glittering stars, where a beam of light emerges from the peak. And beyond that, the beyond, Targon Prime, the city of silver and gold, baby. Which, we know very little about, other than Kael and Mahira are apparently here. It was mentioned that sometimes the reason for Targonian Ascended's disappearances can be linked to Targon Prime. I don't know if that is outside of Mahira and Kael, whether other Ascendeds are also... actually, they said Targonian Ascended, which...
As compared to a Shuriman Ascended?
Right, which is also kind of a weird terminology that I've never seen used anywhere else. So who fucking knows? But it also says that it appears that there's a great council in Targon Prime planning to build an army of powerful human celestial meldings against the unknowable, to fight against the unknowable nothingness. So it sounds like they are preparing for war up in Targon Prime against the Void.
Yeah, that feels like it lines up with the actions we see them take, kind of across history, really.
I'll say when I think of the Void event. Go ahead.
I was going to say something I think we should mention when it comes to this concept of ascending the peak is to kind of highlight that aside from all of the obvious physical rigor, it's absolutely a spiritual journey. I think that's a good thing to kind of for someone to know, is that it's a test of you as a person, right? And so it's not about being able to just climb a mountain. And important to understand why anyone who kind of succeeds, which is exceptionally rare, ends up getting kind of the old thumbs up on the god power is there.
Right.
Just something to highlight.
Yeah, like imagine if the big mountain, Everest, had a portion of it too that would test your mental fortitude by like showing you visions of every time that you had failed in life.
Emotional battery.
Right.
My anxiety already does that every night when I'm trying to sleep. So.
You should climb Everest, man. You're ready to ascend, baby.
We berated Tarek for like 2 hours, and he still climbed that thing.
It's like, you got nothing on my father, let me tell you.
Man.
I got a little bit about wildlife.
I'd love to hear about the wildlife there. They got some crazy shit up there.
Just a little bit. There's a lot of larger mammals on the mountain that are built to survive the cold. Only a handful are mentioned on the wiki. Some of them have hooves, kind of like goats, and then others have giant claws to climb the icy mountains. The ones mentioned are pretty massive. Like, there were none that were just like a normal sized mammal. They're all like compared to a human being, and they're all like towering over it. But most of them seem to be herbivores and aren't actually dangerous to their core. Like an ibex, which are used for their milk. Yummy. And an urbach is mentioned, and Zoe's scarf is knitted from the wool of an urbach, which is an animal.
It's a nice scarf.
Yeah. But who cares about that? Because Stellacorns exist, which you guys did mention. This is very much a Legends of Runeterra thing, I assume. Young Stellacorn are taken care of by star shepherds near the peak of the mountain. I did try to look up more about star shepherds and what they are. They're a Legends of Runeterra card, and that's all I could find on it at all. And the picture looks like a little girl cuddling a little unicorn. So are star shepherds little girls, little magical girls? I don't know. Right? I love that idea, though, because that's really cute. Because we both have a little girl in our house, and they fucking love unicorns, I gotta tell you.
I smell it. Like a 20-book series, like 4 to 6 year old chapter book, like idea. The Stellacorn girls.
The Stellacorn girls. Oh my god.
Can we just say how underutilized
the Dragon Girls series?
The Dragon Girls. What's up, John?
Can we say how underutilized the League IP is for kid stories?
Yes, we talk about that all the time. Oh yeah, this Stellacorn shit would be amazing.
It's like crack to them.
Right? That's they don't understand. That's how Disney got on the map.
Yeah.
Is making merchandise for kids. The fucking...
I would buy my daughter a Stellacorn. I would buy 2, because I would also want one. And I'd be jealous of her Stellacorn.
Look, I'll say that whenever, because they would have swing set back through this way, and whenever my daughter and the cousins come through here, they always want to know about this little motherfucker, this Poro over here.
Oh my god, yes, Poppy's obsessed with the little Poro that I have too.
It's like, I know, it's the coolest thing in here. I got this dope Thresh sitting here. They couldn't give a shit about Thresh, man. He's too scary. With that Poro?
Give me that guy with his tongue out. Just trying to eat a fucking cookie, man.
I know.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Anyway, Stellacorns do grow up and they can fly. Most people assume that they are a shooting star, though, if they happen to see them. That's all I got on the wildlife.
There are like
that's cool.
Random ass dragons there that again is kind of a Legend of Runeterra thing, but like
that wasn't even on the wiki.
Yeah, it was weird. It was they have so many other Legends of Runeterra exclusive things on the wiki, and they didn't talk about the dragon that has so much knowledge that if you even look into their eyes, I think you just go mad with it, or like any of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a zillion.
Yeah, which right. Feels on brand with Aurelian Soul kicking around, right? You'd have a bunch of dragons spawning out there.
That's true.
From that wildlife one, I liked that there was like one of the non-herbivores was like a carnivorous like a raptor, like this big like bird thing. That's pretty cool.
They mentioned that like one of the bigger mammals on their back, there's a lot of scars from those because they dive down and try to attack them, but like they're just these giant motherfuckers. Like, you can't take it down. It's like a mammoth or something.
Another Monday. My back torn to shreds.
Dive bombed. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say that it's an interesting idea that because in Demacia they have the silver wings, which are also this sort of like predatory raptor type thing. I would be open to like someone establishing some sort of like, they're kind of like distant cousins on the old ecological tree, right? There's like the Demacian and the Targonian one,
I love that.
And one's been tamed. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, there's a few champions from here.
Not a lot.
And then some that are connected. Yeah, so like from here we have Aphelios, Aurelian Soul, Diana, Kael, Leona, Morgana, Pantheon, Soraka, Tarek, and Zoe.
Is it really 10? I thought it was 8.
They don't count Kael and Morgana as being from there, despite the fact that they were literally born there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because they were born there and they immediately fucked off to Demacia, but they were born there. They're from Targon.
Yeah, it's defining for them, for sure.
And then there's a few that are connected here. So we've got Atrox, Rost, and Viego, who are all either fighting or resurrecting Pantheon at some point in there.
Just that poor guy. Constantly.
Aurelian Soul said, it's my turn to resurrect Pantheon.
I never get to kill the Pantheon, not ever.
The button. It's my turn to push the button, not your turn to push the button, my turn to push.
Then we've got Jace, Nami, and Bard, who are just kind of wandering around looking for stuff.
Alrighty. Well, Nami's looking for Diana.
Yeah, they all have specific things they're looking around for, except for Bard.
I'll give it to Bard because he is like the one example of like a non-aspect celestial who really, really muddies the waters. Can he just be an aspect and let's just make our lives simpler here?
No,
he's yeah.
Then we've got Garen, who just banished Tarek there. That's his main connection to it. We've got Nasus, who worked with the aspect of Twilight Maisha. And then we have Yumi, who frequently visits Elune in the Marisa Magnum.
Right, yeah.
I have a few fun facts about this, too, before we get into some, I recommended reading or viewing of the region if you want.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Sure.
So, Mount Targon, you're not going to believe this, based on Mount Olympus.
Not based
mythological
on the
home of
Mountain.
the 12 Olympians. And in original lore, it was known as Mount Gargantuan.
Right, yeah. Hell yeah, bring it back. Mount
Can you
really
imagine
big.
if that was still its name? All this celestial god shit. Like, it's Mount Gargantuan. It's big.
I mean, I don't know.
Mount Big Mountain.
I don't know how far removed that is from Targon Prime, let's be honest.
No, that's fine.
No.
The Rakor, the tribe of the last sun, are based on Egyptian Theonim Ra, the god of the sun over there.
Oh, okay.
The name of the core leader, Jagan, means to hunt in German and Dutch. The sectarian names Solari and Lunari derive from the Latin sol and luna.
Whoa!
Just in case you're not up to date with your Latin.
Yes.
The Solari's dismissive and disdainful attitude towards the Lunari possibly references the astronomical fact that the moon does not emit any light of its own, but only reflects the sun's light.
Get dunked on.
Yeah, nerds.
They could still like the rock,
No.
you know? Like, once rock, it's still a cool rock.
It's not the light part, it's just the rock part that I'm into. The
rock,
light part's
guys.
whatever.
Look at
Just
the
fucking love
craters.
it. Like, we're not enemies here. You can have your sun. That's light. That's cool.
Love
I'm
the
here for the
sunlight.
fucking
Makes me
cheese
see
up
the
there.
moon.
Right?
The
Wallace and Gromit
cheese.
motherfuckers.
The title Ra Harak derives from the Egyptian Ra Haraki, or Ra Horus of the Horizons.
It's interesting they've gone with so much of this Egyptian stuff
Yeah.
with Targon, just because
So
Shurima
close
is
to
just like
Shurima.
just does it so. But I guess they are next to each other, like you said. They are actually I don't know. Maybe it's cultural cross contamination or whatever. I don't know.
Right. I'm sure maybe they just like the names better for the Egyptian gods than a lot of the Grecian or
Greek
Roman ones.
Yeah.
Well, the Greek gods are so well known that it's like
overplayed.
I don't know. Yeah, it is overplayed. Yeah.
They also have like different ones, right? So like, I feel like Ra as the god of sun is way more, I guess, recognizable than the god of sun of like the Roman god of sun, right?
I don't know.
I feel like I hear it referenced more.
Oh yeah, I'm not as up to date on my.
But maybe that's just because of the Godsmack or the
Godsmack.
in season. What was that? Oh, there's a band called Ra. That's right.
Oh.
Around that same time, I was trying to think of their fucking song. Do you call my name? Do you call my name? Do you see my face? You know.
I think she could do the whole song though, because maybe
I would if I hadn't already forgotten the lyrics for that one portion that I already just did.
Aw, damn.
In Season 9, the ranked emblems for the League system were redesigned, and Mount Targon represents the emblem for the Diamond rank. League Community Podcast made a specific episode regarding the new lore of Mount Targon. And Mount Targon was Graham McNeil's first lore event, which he specifically contributed towards.
Oh.
Okay.
Fun fact, Targonians value gemstones more than gold. Which, obviously Tarek knows.
That's outrageous.
But it's not a Tarek exclusive thing. It's all of them, baby.
Yeah.
Aegis of Zeonia, Eye of the Aspect, Face of the Mountain, Locket of the Iron Solari, Moonflare Spellblade, Nova of Atreus, Relic Shield, Shield of Daybreak, Skyfall of Arion, Solstice of Astria, Targon's Brace, Moonstone Renewer, and Zenith Blade. All Mount Targon artifacts.
Oh.
Some of which you can purchase in games, some of which are abilities.
I think you said the most proper nouns this episode, like more than any other episode.
Right? And it's been torture. Let me tell
sorry,
you.
honey.
None of them are easy proper nouns. They have so many vowels. It's like looking at a fucking, city name in Massachusetts, except you have to say all the vowel names. You don't get to ignore 90% of them.
Say it like a Massachusetts and...
All right. Skyfall of Urn instead of Aoria.
The urn!
Is the Moonflare Spellblade.
Alright, we gotta go on.
There are many tribes at the base of Mount Targon. Their current status? Unknown.
Sick. Thanks.
You're welcome. The Celestial Targon. And this is a phrase that I don't think we've also mentioned either. The Celestial Targon is said to have been the most powerful empire in all of League of Legends universe. It is said that they gave the early civilizations of Runeterra the blueprints on the way of life Runeterra is right now. It's also possible that they were the first to introduce magic to Runeterra. It is also stated that Targonians were connected to the world runes in some way, having an ability to call down a world rune, which is an interesting ability that they have.
Oh, jeez.
So whatever the fuck Celestial Targonians are, which I assume are just the Celestial... Well, it says that they're like a civilization, right? So whoever the Celestial Targonians are, they're super powerful and really fucked up Runeterra.
Huh.
Yeah, I read that this is like the big space empire that I was kind of trying to describe earlier. So like Targon Prime as like Targon as it exists within the celestial space, right?
Yeah.
Celestial Targon, the region. Yeah. But that's just like, that is such a massive thing that you've just like said about like our understanding of like,
just a footnote. By the way, all magic in Runeterra comes
created by these people.
Oh, those world runes also created by these people
that we'll never mention again.
Yeah, if there was someone in dogged pursuit of this knowledge and we followed that more, that would be one thing.
Right, I'm real curious.
Only there was somebody hunting runes.
Yeah, like we know that there's someone hunting them. I'm real curious if he's ever been curious. Like they exist and I want them, but also where the fuck did they come from?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, in Legends of Runeterra, where much of this information is coming from, I don't know about this specifically, but a lot of this stuff that we've talked about has come from the storyline that runs with Mahira and Kale does loop in Rise, and he does show up, and I think he saves the day by using a world rune and kind of like time rewinding the whole situation, as I vaguely recall.
Classic. So do as I say, not as I do. Rise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're aware of like that, I guess, but it only ever manifests in this sort of non-canon storyline. So, yeah.
The stars of the constellation of war include former and current stars are, this is vowel heavy words here. Arion, Astria, Asos, Atreus, and Xeonia.
From A to Z.
A to Z, baby.
And we got all the other letters in there, probably, right?
And finally, little fun fact here. Every single champion from or related to Targon is present in both League and Legends of Runeterra.
Well, there's not that many.
Yeah.
How dare you take that accomplishment away from them?
That's fair. That's fair.
Right. John, you've got a lot of recommended.
Point. I do. Let me erase this entire section because this was...
I was going to say, you're doing the Zed comic recommendation?
No comic recommendation.
You know, it's just...
I was about to be like, what is in there?
Technically, there is a tarot comic, but...
yeah. So,
now I have some stories here that I think are... These are kind of my favorites of the region. So, I don't know how you all feel, if you have other stories that you like, but these are my favorites. First of all...
I didn't have a lot that I liked from Targon, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite region in terms of stories, but I will say the favorite stories that I do have, there is a wide variety of authors. I think actually every one of my favorites has a different author.
Interesting. I'm interested then.
I have Twin Dawns here by Matthew Dunn.
What's this?
Do you want to explain?
What is this?
Man, I wish I had written down.
Oh, okay.
A better explanation. So let's see. Okay, so Twin Dawns. That is the story. I'm gonna look it up right here.
Oh, is that the Aurelian Soul story? Where it's from his perspective? Or is that...
Let's see. Yes, I think so. So this was the one where he blew up that Void Rift. But we get a ton of insight into Aurelian Soul's mind during this point, and we also see a bunch of stuff about like Runeterra as a whole that was kind of neat, and the Void Threat. So like I liked that one a lot. I liked how it was written. I thought it was really good view into Aurelian Soul's personality, which was nice because he's like a really cocky dragon. We don't get to see a lot, and I like that one. Sure. We also have... Oh, go ahead. Oh, you want to alternate?
Oh, I don't know. Do you want to alternate a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't have a ton. I was going to say in battle broken, right?
Yeah,
like,
that definitely.
It's not really a Targon... It's hard to say, like, because that's not really a Targon story. It's really specific to Pantheon, but it's so good. You can't not recommend it, really.
I mean, if he's from the Record and so is his friend, then there's a good chance that that his
it's pretty
his widow also is in Targon, just in kind of one of the Record settlements, right?
You're probably right. Yeah,
so it counts.
It's pretty good. It's by Laurie Golding. But yeah, very good. Great piece. I don't want to get into it too much, but just very good.
Yeah, great Pantheon. Well, great Atreus piece.
Yeah,
decidedly not a Pantheon piece. For Pantheon, I got Spear of Targon on here. Anthony Reynolds Lene.
Oh, interesting. It's funny because I was gonna throw it for Pantheon. Damn, this guy's getting off. For Those Who Have Fallen by David Slagle. Yeah, the one where he's fighting. I think it's almost like a Zerath type is kind of what it sort of reads as.
I do have that one on here too. Yeah, so Pantheon got a lot of play. I gotta say in my top stories.
He has a lot more stories than a lot of other champs.
This one is like
he's got a really strong conceit. I feel like.
I will say the Spear of Targon's like it's no in battle broken, right? It's like it's a color piece, it's an action piece. It's like but I feel like what I liked about it was it I don't know, it was a really good action piece. I felt like I feel like it really did a good job showing his power and just I don't know. It read well for me as an action piece. I feel like some of the action pieces fall a little flat because it's hard to write action in a way that you can envision it like it's supposed to be envisioned, right? Like but I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, it's funny you kind of mentioned that because one that sat like that for me was a Leona story called The Lightbringer.
That was on my list too.
Yeah. I always remember this one because she's like boiling people inside their armor, and it's like thumbs up. That's all. Say no more. Right?
Yes, that is a view of Leona you don't get in a lot of places. This was kind of a pretty unique.
It's the reason why we've suspected that maybe her aspect has more control over her than some others.
She has to like fight it off. This kind of thing. She has to contain it.
I feel like her relationship seems way more
confrontational,
way more like Kane's relationship to the Darken. Really, it seems like Kane's relationship to Rost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty accurate. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of Leona, rise with me, baby.
Yeah,
that was the kind of I guess we'd call it like a mixed media story with Diana and Leona, where we kind of learn about their time in school together and their burgeoning relationship and what it was like for both of them growing up inside kind of a Solari school, especially Diana with some decidedly Lunari beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I'm tapped. I'm checking through maybe like a soft recommend for like Night's Work. That's also by Graham McNeil. That's again just a little action piece for Diana. It's got some. I remember having some fun void descriptions. If you're gonna read the Leona one, you might as well read this one, and you can get like a sense of where they're both kind of at, as they are more now. I'll aspect it out. But that's kind of where I wrapped on my story recommends, I think.
Nice. Last one I had was The Face and Her Stars. By Rowan Noel Williams. Now, this one was not featuring any champion. This is more life on Targon, basically. This was kind of one of the Rakor tribes who are basically training. They spend kind of a lot of the story training to become, I think it's Raharak, I forget now off the top of my head, but then also there's that call of the mountain that's pulling at one of them the whole time, like, do I be a Raharak? Or like, man, it's calling me, I gotta find out. And we see a lot of the training to become a Raharak, and then we see kind of our main character get pulled away and decide to try and climb Targon. And what we see in this story too is like it seems like a marathon basically that they run periodically. Like she shows up there and there's a lot of people waiting to climb Mount Targon, and she kind of makes friends with a few people early on. That's like, it'll be easier to climb if there's a few of us together. I don't know you, you don't know me. Some of them weren't even from Targon. They just came to climb the mountain. Like, let's work together and let's do this up to the top. And then the story cuts off. They're all probably dead now, but
well, they're all right Runeterra cards. Although, just to follow up, that character does ascend. Aspect of the Traveler, I want to say.
Nice.
But that was a good one. I that one slipped my mind, but I remember liking that one. That one's frustrating just because, like you said, it cuts off and it feels like that's a really good first act to then, really kind of follow up on, but we take what we can get, I guess.
Now there's a handful of other media here too. We've got The Weapon of the Faithful, which is the Nephelios teaser. We've got Call of the Mountain, which is the Legends of Runeterra cinematic with the Stellacorns.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we see a lot of aspect or not, God, I can't say aspects when I'm talking about Targon. We see a lot of elements of Targon in this cinematic too. We see Diana and Leona fighting here. We see a bunch of giant ass dragons here. We see a lot of what would make the climb of Targon precarious here too. But yeah, beautiful cinematic, really cool. We've got He Has Returned and The Starforger Returns. Both Aurelian Soul teasers. Obviously, Rise of the Sentinels hits on Targon, so we know that's the best game. So you can't play it unfortunately anymore, but you can go to YouTube and watch the videos.
Or not.
Up to you. We've got The Vaulted Road, which is another Legends of Runeterra cinematic where a star-crossed Lunari and Solari are trying to run away together. But then the Solari Gondun murder one of them. But then they ascend and become the Lovers, the star constellation in the sky, which, I don't know, maybe means they're ascended. I don't know if we've talked about... We know the Ascended have star constellations in the sky. I don't know if we've talked about whether non-Ascended have star constellations in what it means. Who knows?
They got like a free ride. They're like, you can be an aspect, whatever. Go be stars. I don't know.
They're literally on fire. Screaming because
the Call cinematic, we've got a sweet fight between Pantheon and Leona
and us
here.
reacting to it.
Yeah, we have a reaction video. That's cool as hell. Downfall is a Tarek teaser cinematic, and then we see The Ascent, which is a Tarek comic that kind of shows a little bit more what goes into the actual ascent of Targon. If you ever I could do that. I can take cold weather and I'm good at climbing. You can watch the Ascent.
You think you know? You have no idea. I'm Tarek, and this is my ascension. Anyway, I need a final Tarek, not Targon thoughts.
I still caught up. I mean, I'm sorry if this episode's been a lot of airing of grievances, but I kind of thought that it might be. It's there's not a lot of champions here. The champions that are here, a number of them are either an Aurelian Soul type who's just so far removed from being he doesn't take action right now, or Leona and Diana who are in just sort of a weird stasis of, I don't even know where Diana even is anymore. I guess no one does. And I think I would say also just I didn't get into it when we talked about it, but the Lunari Solari dynamic to me feels really weak.
It does. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So it's you have to fix that if you're going to spend time in the region, and I don't think it's and you know what's weird also is I feel like there's a lot of people who are invested in it, so it's you probably have to take. I feel like you got to take a bat to some of that to kind of get into a more a richer, more complex conflict and things like that. But I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's weird having an entire region that has so much of its lore being hard carried by stuff that's not even confirmed canon, yeah, it's a tough place to be in. And it really, I feel really does lend credence to Aurelian Soul destroying it all in the MMO. It's probably way easier to do that than revisit it and try and fix it all.
You know what? I wouldn't be mad. I could really do without the Lunari Solari broadly, and for the characters we do have, it would be way more interesting for them to have to kind of come to grips with that. Especially a Felius is the one in my mind that I'd be the most interested in, because he's so established as being so dependent on things and being so ingrained within that faith, and I guess maybe Leona too, to a lesser degree, but yeah, I'd be super into it. Blow it up,
right? Hey, if Felios doesn't have Solari to fight, that just means he gets his voice back. Good for him.
I don't know. Yeah. I can't believe that the final thoughts are, well, this region should just be destroyed. It should be removed.
Oh my god, you guys were just blow it up.
I mean, to be fair, the goal of
Although we also talked
a good
about...
percentage of the people from this region.
That's
so
true. It was like, it would be so cool if Aurelius Sol just destroyed the mountain and blew up the Solari. Great region.
It's like we said, there's technically there's like 8 champions. I think at this point it's tied for, I thought I read that it's tied for Ishtal for like the number of champions.
And Ishtal's not even as old as...
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, man, I was reading a post from a year ago about how it hadn't gotten anything in 4 years, and it's like, man, I know it's got Runeterra, Legends of Runeterra stuff, but like that's all. You know what that all is? I want to sit here and just bitch the whole time, but what I'll say is it reminds me of like, like when you're like DMing, and you're like you get really caught up in like, ooh, the world building and this and that, but you forget to like write a plot. You know what I mean? Or like a proper like quest. You know what I mean? Like you didn't do the groundwork.
Fantasy novels who have forgotten to do that.
Exactly. Like, and you're so caught up in the world building where it's like these are all neat ideas, and this is like would be a neat place to spend time in, but you also need something a lot more compelling at the core of it, and it's like missing that. I feel like
you're right.
I don't know. I'm sorry if you really like Targon. Some of the stories are good.
I like the vibes of it, the aesthetics.
Great aesthetics.
It's all that's great. Is we just want more emotion in it. We want more people connected and moving it forward in some way. For
sure. And that's something I'll say is that I can't think of a real world like culture or something that is like Targon is just absolutely aping off of or stealing from, which you see in so many other things. Like Shurima, perfect example, right? With Targon, it's like if there is one, then let me know. I'm just ignorant, but it feels like this feels a little more original and unique, which is neat.
Well, that was Targon, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to see more of John, we have Twitch, twitch.tv/loreheads. John streams on Saturday evenings there. He does TFT and AROs with viewers. He's been playing some other games for about an hour beforehand. He also posts some of those VODs on YouTube. We do have a YouTube there. As we said, we reacted to the call. We have some other reaction videos there, along with some fun parody songs John's done. One in an entire Heimerdinger impression. It's great. We also have a Discord. You want to find some people to play League with, chat, post memes, talk about what you're reading or watching. If you're ever talking about what you're reading, I go to that one. Because I also want to talk about reading. But please join the Discord. We have a Patreon. Oh, John just posted us playing each other's main champions, I think. We were playing League and we each had to play the others.
Like highest mastery.
Highest mastery, yeah. I don't even remember who I ended up playing for that. Maybe Tristana, which was horrible. It did not go well. Anyway, if you want to watch that, did I sell it? That's on Patreon now. It's $5 a month for all the bonus content. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons, Mr. Dead and King of Hearts. If you were climbing Mount Targon to try to get to the top, I would be your Sherpa. I'd lead you. You'd make it to the top. You'd be fine.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, fun fact. They have Sherpas. They don't get ascended, though.
Right.
And that's an old rap on Targon. Makes no fucking sense. Please join us next week. We are going to be doing another Lorehead quiz, so grab a pencil and paper and be prepared to lose.
Can you beat us?
Can you beat us? Me, yes. The other two, they've got good minds and brains. They're smart.
Their brain work good. Good brain work good.
Their brain work good. Big mountain.